Now, I have to admit something. This video has a slight chance of being biased beyond all measure because, to my shame and the shame of my ancestors, my favourite aircraft of the Second World War is French. Now, I can hear the booing. I can hear the booing that it's not a Spitfire. I really can, or a P-51. And why, may you ask? Well, the answer is I just don't know. I like the vibe. But either way, I'll do my best to be impartial here. Welcome back to 5 Minute History, the weekly series where patrons choose the topic. This week, as part of the month dedicated to French history, we're examining the D.520, the greatest plane ever of World War II because it's my favourite and I will not take notes on it. Okay, it really wasn't the greatest, but I just like it. As tensions rose across Europe in the 1930s, the world's air forces rapidly modernised their combat fleets, moving away from biplanes towards faster, sleeker, and more deadly monoplanes. France in particular took note of its fighter stock and service such as the Marine-Solna MS-406 with extreme concern, because they were totally outclassed by newer designs from Germany and Britain like the Bf-109 and the Hawker Hurricane. In response to this, the French aviation authorities issued a requirement in 1936 known as Programme A23, for a modern single-seat interceptor capable of at least 520 km an hour, armed with heavier armaments than existing fighters and capable of engaging contemporary threats effectively. Sounds simple, right? Émile Dibertine's design team set to work to meet these requirements, and they cooked up a low-wing monoplane that featured retractable landing gears, a sleek all-metal fuselage, and a powerful liquid-cooled engine. The designation 520 came directly from the performance requirement, a maximum target speed of 520 km an hour. The aircraft's construction emphasised aerodynamic cleanliness, with flush riveting, recessed panel lines, and a streamlined cockpit canopy that improved pilot visibility. 3 of these prototypes were ordered by the French government in 1938, and the first flew on the 2nd of October 1938 with a Hispano-Suiza 12Y21 engine, but initially fell short of performance expectations. Through iterative improvements, including the reallocating of radiators for better cooling, and adding a more powerful 12Y29 engine, the design achieved the desired speed. The D.520 was a low-wing cantilever monoplane with an all-metal semi-monocoque fuselage constructed primarily from duralumin. Its wing structure featured a single main spar with duralumin skinning, while the main control surfaces were often fabric-covered for weight savings. Central to its performance was the Hispano-Suiza 12Y45 cooled V12 engine that was placed in, replacing the earlier models that produced approximately 935 horsepower. This engine would be able to power the aircraft to a maximum speed of around 532 to 35 kilometers at altitude, which made it competitive with many contemporary designs, and the aircraft would have the added benefit of the self-sealing fuel tanks, although they were nowhere near as good as later war self-sealing tanks. Some quick stats on the aircraft include the following. The plane had a crew of 1, it was 8.6 meters long, 10.2 meters wingtip to wingtip, the empty weight was 2,123 kilograms, and the maximum takeoff was 2785. The 520 had a range of about 1,200 kilometers for ferrying and about 500 kilometers for combat, with a surface ceiling of 36,000 feet or 11 kilometers. Lastly, it had a rate of climb of 14.3 meters per second. On this platform, there was a single 20mm cannon firing through the propeller hub, and 4 7.5mm machine guns mounted on the wings, giving it a hefty punch thanks to the cannons when compared to others, such as, the Mark I Spit that sported only 303 machine guns. Production of the aircraft ramped up in early 1939 as European tensions escalated, and by the time Germany invaded France in May 1940, several hundred 520s were in various stages of manufacture and service. But it was too late. There just wasn't enough in the air to combat the Luftwaffe effectively. During the Battle of France, the 520 proved to be among the most capable fighters in the French service. It was generally regarded as a solid combat aircraft, able to engage the Luftwaffe's 109s competitively at certain altitudes, provided, the pilots knew what they were doing. While not dramatically superior in every aspect, it offered advantages in maneuverability and acceleration at specific flight regimes, and was considered by French pilots to be effective. Despite its promising performance though, the rapid collapse of the French army meant that the 520 was available in too fewer numbers and too late to influence the outcome of the war. When France signed the armistice with Germany in 1940, only a fraction of the planned force had seen action, and most of the fleet sat mid-manufacture on the production line. But our story's not really done yet. See, after the armistice, many 520s served into the period of Vichy France as part of the Vichy Air Force. which retained a portion of the French fighting capability under German oversight. During this period, the aircraft became the principal fighter of Vichy forces and continued to fly in North Africa, and often other theatres, sometimes against Allied aircraft. When Germany fully occupied Vichy in November 1942, it seized hundreds of the type and commandeered production, delivering the fighter to its Axis allies such as the 60 that went to Italy, and were used incredibly effectively at intercepting Allied bombers. Another 100 undertook the same role on the Bulgarian Air Force, while the Luftwaffe used the aircraft in a limited capacity. In combat against the Luftwaffe in 1940, the 520 held its own in several engagements. Even as the overall situation deteriorated for the French military, its performance was broadly competitive with the 109 and Hurricanes from Britain, but it was not superior in all or many respects. The 109 retained advantages at speed and climb rate at certain altitudes. However, the 520's maneuverability and firepower gave it a slight edge in the dogfight if handled correctly. French pilots appreciated the aircraft's handling and responsiveness, especially at medium altitudes where most combat took place. Its armament with a heavier cannon, centrally mounted, provided the firepower on par with most frontline fighters of its era, or even a bit better in some cases. But France's limited industrial capacity meant that there was just never enough to replace the older types in the required numbers to actually make a difference in the sky. By war's end, approximately 900 of the type had been built across all operators and variants. While this was modest compared to fighter production in Germany, Britain, or the US, it represents a significant achievement for French aviation in a period of intense industrial and military pressure. They got this out quickly, and they got it out working. And that is quite impressive. Today, a handful of 520s survive in museums in France and elsewhere, examples preserved at institutions such as the Musée de l'Air, at La Bourget, and other aviation collections. But that's that. That's the story of the monoplane that was simply just a bit too late. A gorgeous aircraft that was well made, well designed, and effective. But about 3 months too late. I don't think I was too fawny there, but yes, this is my favourite aircraft from the Second World War. You may now enjoy mocking me in the comments below. Shout out to the patrons, like, comment, subscribe. Special thanks to the patron that recommended this one because you had no idea what you were doing, and I will catch you all next time.